Witness testimonies continue today during day 2 of the trial against Derek Chauvin. Prosecution called to the stand key witnesses, including the teenager who filmed the viral video showing a former Minneapolis police officer's knee on George Floyd's neck.
The trial is a lot to take in, and to help us make sense of it all, we have 3 experts that will join us over the next several weeks. They're here to explain what you're seeing in the headlines. Today, we have Elon Law Professor Steve Friedman and UNC Law Professor Ted Shaw joining us. Our third expert, WFU Professor of Law Cami Chavez, can't be with us today, but she'll be here next time. Let's get to know our experts a little more before we dive in here. Steve teaches evidence law at Elon University School of Law. He previously served as an assistant U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia and has published articles and books in multiple publications. Ted is the director of UNC Center for Civil Rights at the UNC School of Law. He specializes in criminal justice policy, civil rights, and discrimination, plus critical race theory and race and law. He has served as an attorney with the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice and worked with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund for 26 years. Cami is a professor of law and the director of Wake Forest University's Criminal Justice Program. She is a former federal prosecutor for the District of Columbia and had published writings on federal hate crime legislation and enforcement and racial profiling. These guys know their stuff, and we are so glad that you're all here today. Let's start with the bigger picture. What can we expect to see happen in this trial? Steve, why don't you take that first?
Okay, yeah, we're figuring out who's going first, but here I can say to you that, as you can see, this is not simply a trial that attracts the attention of Minneapolis or Minnesota. This has worldwide attention. And in part because of the pandemic, there are going to be a lot more people live streaming than ever before. So people are going to learn about the criminal system. And really what I think they're going to be unlearning from television and movies about how the system works. Of course, it has great implications, and I'll pass it over to Ted to continue.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that we can expect to see is an attempt to humanize the defendant here by defense counsel. And we're also going to see an effort by the prosecutor to make clear that this was an act of callous indifference. And this is going to be a real play to determine what the story is, whether the jurors saw what they are told happened, whether it actually happened, or whether they should believe something else, to use an old saying, you know, who you going to believe, me or your lying eyes? And we're going to see a very different trial at the beginning than we're going to see at the end, the beginning being very emotional. I think the end of the trial is going to be more technical, the second part of the trial. This is going to be one of the most important televised trials since the days of the O.J. Simpson trial and the Rodney King trial.
So, sir, you talk about this being one of the most important televised trials. It is in Minneapolis, but what kind of impact nationwide could this verdict have?
Well, I think that the country, many people around the country are going to be watching this. And in fact, beyond the United States, I think we might find other people watching it in different parts of the world. And that's going to have some impact, particularly at a time when the United States has been so recently divided around issues of race. So the question is, who are we collectively as a country? Who are we as Americans? And how does this terrible death, this incident, play into this inflection moment, this moment in which the country is struggling to determine who we are?
So we want to talk to you about the jury makeup here. What factors are being taken into consideration when you made that jury? Because so many people have seen so much media coverage. How do you ever find someone that's impartial?
So I would basically say that people look at it as jury selection, but it's really jury deselection. Each side wants to get rid of jurors who they think will not favor that side. And so the prosecution is looking at the jury very differently than the defense, even though the overarching goal is to create a fair and impartial jury. The problem with impartiality is they're looking for people who have not really turned on the news, who don't go online, who know nothing about the case. Well, you can't find that. And that's why they tried to move the case, but high publicity doesn't mean the case gets moved. So you're going to have here a more diverse jury than that particular county apparently has. And you're also going to have jurors who may have some opinions already, because you can't find people who are totally neutral. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
You know, I would just add to that there has been a long evolution with respect to jury selection or jury deselection. Often juries are criticized for being all white juries or not having. This is not true. This jury is very diverse. It's very much a composite of, I think, the Minneapolis area. And it's diverse not only with respect to race, but also with respect to gender. Black people, white people, multiracial people, women and men. It's going to be a very interesting month or so as we watch this trial play out and see what the jury does. So we remember that in order to hang a jury, all it takes is one vote in criminal cases. This is going to be a very interesting courtroom drama.
A month or so of this, huh? We are so glad here that we will have you guys here to help us through all of this, because it is so much to unpack. It can be so emotional, but it's good to hear from you guys the legal side of it and the background and the expertise. So thank you so much. If you have any more questions, let us know. You can always text them in or just email news@wfmy.com. We'll get them to our experts the next time they're here, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.